people pulling together and using their numbers as a cohort, in this case mostly older adults, to generate the kind of support that we need to thrive and be powerful and make choices about how and where we live as we get older. So what I mean by that is the villages are based on the model of once upon a time, a long time ago, in the days of war, when people lived in little villages. There were certain ways that people looked out for each other and ways that people related to each other through the life cycle that were natural. People started helping their older neighbors out, and the older neighbors had ways to, help look out for the neighbors' grandkids. And if you were living in a house that was a 3-story house, you probably were living with your family and extended family, and they helped out. And as your body changed, it was accepted, and so changes were made to accommodate that, and you were helped, and that's how it went. Well, we can't recreate a zillion little villages. It's just not going to happen. We have to live with what we have, right? So what happened is about 12, 13 years ago, a group of people in Beacon Hill on the East Coast said, we're getting older, and we don't really want to go somewhere where some 20-year-old can tell us what time we should have supper. Not going to happen. Let's figure out how to stay here and support each other in the effort. So they worked with Harvard Business School and came up with a nonprofit organizational structure that's membership-based called The Village. And you have it's member-owned and operated, and there are 4 basic things that the villages provide. First of all, it's all grassroots. Nobody makes any money on this. So when a group of people learn about a village and want to get together and start it, and they start forming a work group, one of the first things they do is they figure out natural boundaries in which they will have somewhere between 8,000 and 12,000 people, 65 and up. So it's a big set of boundaries. So here in Portland, Oregon, the first one that's probably going to launch runs all the way from Willamette River, which if you don't know the city, that would be kind of like 0 Street, and then all the way out to southeast 131st Street. You can get the length of that. And then it runs from Powell Boulevard up to the Banfield Freeway, which is probably about half again as the whole thing is long, maybe a little bit more than that. So it's a big area. There's many neighborhoods inside of that. But the idea is you're going to get, at least initially, you're going to get a certain percentage of those 10,000 people, and you need a certain percentage for the whole organization to function and be viable, because there's a certain amount of money is needed for administrative needs and for just the people who are going to help do some of the servicing, although there isn't much in the way of employees. There'll be 1 or 2. So what members get for their membership is 4 basic things. They're going to get a social group. They're going to get other people like them who want to be involved with the villages. You wind up with a lot of picnics and walks and exercise groups and people doing stuff, people getting to know their neighbors, people getting more involved with a sense of community. You get that. And then you get a group of trained, nurtured volunteers. You get people who want to volunteer as part of the village, mostly to do things like give rides, help people out if they're home from the doctor and they need somebody to drop in, maybe make some meals, help with kind of honeydew things that mostly adult kids are doing for older adults right now. Put up the Christmas lights, take in the patio furniture, or walk the dog because I sprained my ankle, those kinds of things you get, which is huge. It makes a huge difference to people on fixed income, living alone with no kids around, to have people who can do those things for them. So that's the second thing. The third thing, and I love this part, is the people in the village create their own vetted vendor list. So I had somebody come and put siding on my house, and he was fabulous. He went the extra mile. I really trusted him. Something went wrong. He came right back and fixed it, no questions asked. I'm going to recommend him for the vetted vendor list.
Right.
So The person goes on the vetted vendor list. They get background checked. They get criminal checked. All their licensing, everything is checked. It remains checked. Anybody working for them has to go through that process. And then if they want to be part of the vetted vendor list, they discount their prices 10 to 50%, which is huge, again, for an older homeowner on a fixed income. Huge deal.
Yes,
you get that, which I really like. And it's win-win for everybody because good people get work, you know, and everybody benefits. And then the last thing is similar to that, but it's more strategic alliances. So they're going to be forming alliances with agencies and service providers who are already there and up and running, and with organizations like home care. They're going to do the same background checking and all of that, but they're going to get home care at a discounted rate. They're just going to partner with all kinds of businesses and agencies and nonprofits and whatever is already in place to make sure that the people in the village know about them and know how to use them. So it creates a situation where people have all this help. Yeah.
So as you said, you're doing unhousing, and the Villages is offering a whole other alternative of here's a way that we can work together and support you if you want to stay in your house, not unhouse, right?
Exactly. Yeah, both of it. And, you know, the truth is, go ahead. What's your question?
Well, I was going to move on and ask you about, you know, your unhousing and senior-specific consulting group, you know, because you're doing the opposite of this, of helping people find their way out of their home, right?
Right.
Is that what you do?
Yep. Sure. Let me talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, I'd love that.
Yeah. So it's interesting. There are people around the country who are doing good work similar to what I do with helping people who are at a point where they need to move or they want to move and they need help. So I'm not the only game in town doing that, but I do have a pretty unique take on it, and I'm happy to share about that because it's something I feel really strongly about. It's something I'd like to have be widely available to people. So I mentioned that I go at it holistically and look at the whole situation for a person. Most of the people that I'm working with currently have decided to move into a senior living community. I work almost exclusively, or have been working almost exclusively, for a really wonderful organization in town called Willamette View. It's a continuing care retirement community. It's very unusual. It's resident-driven. It's a nonprofit. It's been here since 1955, and it is really remarkable and a wonderful culture generated by the people who live there. It's really an unusual, fabulous place to live. So the people coming there mostly have the moving vary, but you know, some people, they've had a crisis and they realize that you know, this is not really working for me to live here in the house anymore, or one of a couple has had a diagnosis and they know something's coming up the road and they don't want to, you know, the one who has the diagnosis wants their partner to have support and community around them, and the one who's going to be a support person wants it too. Or they're just really forward thinking and they are planners and they love the idea of moving somewhere where they have autonomy and a great place to live, but they have a fabulous community and they can travel easily and there's great food, and it's their last move. They're done. They're not spending their energy looking out for property. So I get introduced to people who are going to move in, and I go out and talk with them, and I look at their whole situation, what the resources are, what they know, what they don't. And most people have the whole process absolutely upside down in their head. They don't know. Yeah, they do. I'll talk about that. They don't know who's out there who can help them. They've heard about estate sale people. They know about realtors. And they know there's movers, but they rarely know how to really work well with those professionals, what those professionals need in terms of time and notice to do their jobs right. They don't know at all the scope of work that somebody, for instance, like an estate salesperson can do for them, which is really massive. They can do a huge amount of work for a person. And they don't know how to pick a realtor. They don't really know where realtors really have choice and where they don't about things like pricing. They don't really, so there's all these things they don't know, and plus they've moved in the past, most people have, and they did it a certain way, and they're thinking they're going to do this the same way, and it just doesn't work well. It's not impossible, but it's a lot harder and more stressful than it needs to be. So I have a system for just kind of flipping the whole program on its head, and I go through great lengths to educate people to make sure that they understand exactly what I'm suggesting, and then I connect them with excellent, trustworthy, really fine professionals that they can use. And if they want to interview 3, that's fine. If they want to meet one and say, you know what, it's going to break my heart to choose somebody over this person, I'm just going to use this person, that's fine. So I connect them with people they can trust, who know this work and love this work. And I also act as a scribe when I meet people. I meet people, spend a couple of hours with them, and I'll say to them, you know, don't try to remember this. I'm going to write it all down and get it back to you, and the relief is palpable. They're just
that's
thrilled.
really nice.
It's
that's
a huge
really nice.
thing.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you know, I can't remember anything if I don't write it down. How are they going to remember?
Yeah, I can't either.
You know?
So I'm used to that. But that's very nice for you to do that to people.
Well,
so
they get a
report.
Yeah, they get a recap of the conversation. They get all my recommendations. It's very first, and then they've also got something they can share with trusted advisors, friends or loved ones, or whoever they want to share it with. They've got something in writing. I always invite my clients to, welcome their adult kids or whoever they want to call me with questions, any of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes. So good work gets passed around, which I love. It's great for the clients. Great for the community. I get paid. This community pays me a retainer fee, which is lovely because I'm not on the clock with people.
Do you do this with other senior living communities other than Willamette View? Have you thought about doing that, or they keep you plenty busy?
Well, I have a couple of answers to that. I explored that a lot, and I found that the majority of senior living communities are corporate-owned, which is fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very, very difficult to bring something new to the table.
Right.
And I mentioned I was paid a retainer fee. The beauty of being paid a retainer fee, and it's not exorbitant, the beauty of it is that I can spend 60 hours with a client, or I can spend 10 minutes and save them 60 hours. It doesn't matter. Well, corporate America doesn't work like that. They want clear metrics. You know, what are my dollars doing? How are you increasing our bottom line? And there's a lot of work I do that just doesn't translate that way. So it's hard to get into that model, and most of the corporate-owned communities, the corporate headquarters are not here. Even if they were here, it's very, very difficult, especially as an entrepreneur with something new, to get
Rachel,
connected to anyone who can make decisions.
I hear all this matching and helping people find resources. Does the real estate person of you step in and sell the house for them as well, or is that up to them?
The vast majority of the time, I do not list their houses. I have a pool of realtors, probably 25 really excellent realtors, virtually all of whom are or will be certified as seniors real estate specialists. But, you know, the trustworthy part's the most important part. I have realtors up and down the valley and into Vancouver that I refer to, and I refer them based on knowing the neighborhood, knowing the kind of property. You know, a country property is very different than a condo. So very different specialists that I get to refer work to. I get a referral fee. That's standard to the business. It doesn't make any difference. But if people want to use their own realtor, they use their own realtor. That's fine. You know, they get to choose.
Well, you know, the nice thing about you doing it that way is that you're supporting that trust relationship. You know, if somebody doesn't think that you're only offering these resources and helping them with these ideas because you want to get a listing on the property.
Right. I know. You know. I really like that a lot.
Yeah.
Really
they can see that you're not in it for, you know, the commission on the sale of the real estate. You're in it because this is a service that you are providing, and actually it's being provided by Willamette View to them. Yeah. And you're helping them make that transition and providing resources, including a realtor, and as you say, as somebody that sells the estate, and maybe somebody that is a mover, somebody that helps with the downsizing, sorting process. I understand that can be quite awful. And all those things. These